Is this thing on? Hi guys, my name is Abby and this is the Just Flip It podcast. Gig economy. It was the only way we could afford a house. That's the title of the first article I'm going to talk about from the BBC News. And the article focuses on Daniel Lewis, 33, who's struggling to save up enough deposit to buy a house. So he does additional work in addition to his full-time work, which is 37 hours a week. In February 2018, the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy published a research paper showing that 4.4% of the population in Great Britain had worked in the gig economy in the last 12 months. This is no surprise. I mean, on this podcast, if you've been rocking with me for the past 10 episodes, you will know I keep saying, make sure you have a side hustle. Don't only stick with one job, because in order to get on the property ladder, you need some sort of income or proof of income or something that shows that you have enough deposit. And this is the way that many people are doing it and building futures for themselves. So again, this is an article, it's a rhetoric that keeps on being relayed. And it's no surprise. The next article is from Property Wire, and it's about lettings industry, or the lettings industry, not being in favour of a national landlord register. So there has been this ongoing discussion about having a register to weed out the bad eggs in the private rental sector. However, many have said that these types of things don't work because they feel like they don't get value for money. You pay an eye-watering sum to get this selective license, but nothing comes off the back of that. David Cox, Chief Executive of the Association of Residential Lettings Agents, or ALA, says they are not an effective way of promoting higher quality accommodation, and introducing this registration will not be the silver bullet to improve the effectiveness of property licensing. Local authorities need to invest to enforce a wide range of legislation that already exists. This battle will continue to rumble on, and it's not just in lettings. I speak about these other strategies or multiple streams of income within property, and all of them to an extent are regulated. However, there isn't enough people to enforce it should people breach or do what they're not supposed to be doing. I mean, most places in London now are licensed. If you are part of the private sector and you have a property that you let out, a lot of councils now are asking for people or are demanding people have these licenses in place. As I said, we'll see what happens. My last article has been taken from the Evening Standard, and it looks at the best value areas to buy in the capital. So at number 1 you have Erith in Bexley, which average house price costs around £305,000. The next one is Barking and Dagenham, with the average asking price of around £312,000. Edmonton in North London, with the average asking price of £342,000. Rainham, with the average asking price of £339,000. And then they continue going down the list, but then you've got the likes of Haroldwood, which goes for £347,000 as an asking price. Chadwell Heath, which goes for £349,000. South Norwood, which goes for £350,000 as an asking price. And last but not least, Feltham, which is in West London, and the asking price is again similar to Norwood. South Norwood, which is £350,000. On the flip side of things, the most expensive place, well, not really surprised, is Knightsbridge, with the average asking price of 3.58 million. That's followed by Kensington, which is an average asking price of 2 million, Chelsea 1.7 million, and Barnes 1.4 million. So if you've got that lying around, yeah, you can invest in those areas. Stay tuned for the next part of the pod. So in this week's podcast, I want to focus a bit on networking. I know for me, when I first started working, it was always your network is your net worth. So make the best of it. Make sure you go out, say who you are and all that good stuff. And I didn't really pay it much mind when I was younger. But as I've grown older, and especially with what I'm doing now, it is key and it is so important. I remember when I started out going to networking events, and I did it all wrong. I used to go with other people within the industry which I knew, and rather than network, what we used to do is we used to stand in a group, so it made it harder for outsiders to come in, and we just used to chat about how rubbish our work day was going and what this boss is like, what that boss is like, promotions, all of that good stuff. So never really utilizing any of the things that we'd learned about. For example, when you get into a room, you create an X on the wall on the opposite side of the room, and that's what you have to make your way towards. And in between that, you have to approach every single person which is in your path. So that was a good tip from one director that I worked with. So no, we never did any of that. It's now something I'm actively doing a lot more of, and you realize the benefits later on. I mean, for me, in the last couple of weeks, an opportunity came to me as a result of the networking that I did earlier this year. Had I not done that, I would not have had this opportunity. So I just want to list successful tips of networking. I'm sure you've heard this all before, but just to reiterate, so when you go out and you try and find leads and investors, you'll be in a better position. So number one, look approachable. Please, please, please do not go to any of these places looking scruffy. If you're looking for an investor or if you're looking to sell a product, everyone looks at your appearance, whether it is business or personal. So you want to look like you're someone of importance, that you have something that these people need, because at the end of the day, it's a service business and it's always about identifying and helping people with their needs. So they want to come and look at someone who looks professional, who looks about their business, and they're ready to do their business with. So please look approachable. Number two, have a good handshake. The amount of hands that I shake, when I was in a networking like masterclass, they said that in actual fact, women don't particularly like shaking hands. Men, on the other hand, are good with handshakes, firm handshake, they're happy with that. But women tend to shy away from that. And I realize I'm that type of person as well, but I know that I need to in terms of what I do. So when you do, you don't want to have a limp, sweaty palm. I know it's nerve-wracking to speak to new people, but just take a step back, deep breath, and just go for it. The worst that anyone can say to you, whether it's business or otherwise, is no. If they say no or they're not interested, you move on. There are so many other people and other opportunities that you can get involved with. So please really have a firm, good, solid handshake and make eye contact. The third tip I want to say is begin with a question. A classic one is this your first time to the event? And what did you gain from the speaker's intro or the speaker's pitch? Once you do that, you can get a rapport going and also have an elevator pitch. They always speak about these, and it's a bit like a 1 minute of what you do and what you bring to the table, what service you provide. Again, it's all about building a rapport and lasting relationships. And my last tip is show interest and give compliments. There's nothing worse than you speaking about yourself and you have no interest in the other party. It's actually quite rude. So just remember their name, remember what they've told you, key points, and remember everyone has a story and a starting place. And it's all about relationships and relationship building. Giving compliments is fantastic for people's ego and it helps boost you tremendously and this relationship you're trying to forge with other people. So yeah, those are my 4 tips to networking. I'm sure there are plenty more, but I just thought, let me put it out there, how people don't really utilize their network or net worth. And I'm not even just talking about in events as well. If you have a LinkedIn, if you have a Facebook, reach out to these people, ask them for a coffee. Maybe they have this information that you need and vice versa. And that's how you again rekindle a relationship and just build upon that. So thank you for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. Please rate, review and subscribe. Also, if you have any questions, hit me up on flipitpod@gmail.com. Always happy to answer questions, good, bad or indifferent. I'm here. And yeah, till next time. Thank you. Bye.